Hello everybody and welcome to our virtual economics class for the fall 2020 school year. My name is Daniel Sicoli. Just a little bit about me. This is my, I think, 7th year at Brunswick High School. I graduated from here myself. I went to Georgia Southern for a couple of years and then finished up my bachelor's and my master's at UGA. So if you ever have any questions about different colleges around Georgia, I also attended Coastal. And so if you ever have any questions about that, feel free to let me know. So this is kind of unusual for me as much as it is for you guys. This is my first time doing anything kind of virtual, so we'll be kind of learning it together. Today's session is going to be a little bit shorter than usual, just because we're not going through so much content and because the normal classroom procedures of what to do if you have to go to the restroom, things like that, don't really apply anymore. And so I want to go over some of the basics. After we're done with this video, then I'm going to ask you to move over to the Google Meet link that is underneath this video. And so then I can answer any questions, we could talk through more things together, and then we'll talk about what the structure of a normal day would look like. So let's just start off going over some of the syllabus and the procedures, just so we're all on the same page. And again, the links to these are also on the Google Classroom as well. So just to kind of go over the outline of the class, all right, so we break it up into 5 different units. So we start out with fundamentals, and these are just everyday concepts that you understand already, right? That the less of something there is, the more it's worth, right? Or the way that money works, just kind of simple concepts that we'll use for the rest of the class. All right, then we'll go to microeconomics, right? So if we look at that prefix micro and macro, we're looking at small and large. Microeconomics is looking at how individuals and businesses interact with one another. And those of you that already have jobs, this will be a really easy unit for you because it's a lot of things you'll have already seen in your own workplace. If not, you'll still be fine. Macroeconomics is going to address large-scale economic issues that we're dealing with right now, right? If we're looking at the big toilet paper shortage at the beginning of the pandemic, if we're looking at housing costs right now in Glenn County, all of these are macroeconomics. We're looking at it on a larger scale. All right, international economics, we're going to start comparing ourselves to other countries, right? And so there's certain things we do really well. We've got one of the strongest economies in the world. And there's certain things that we do really, really poorly. If you look at our response to the coronavirus pandemic, it's very different than other countries. All right, and then finally, we'll look at personal finance. This is something that we'll sprinkle in throughout the unit, right? So that could be balancing checkbooks, that can be checking your credit score, how to apply for a loan, how to compare colleges or workplaces. All of those are very applicable with personal finance. All right, so the big thing, to find, well, for you guys, you should already be in the Google Classroom. But if you ever need an easy link, it's on my daily resources tab. You can just click on the link there as well. But again, for you guys, you should already be in it, so you're good. All right, so one thing that we're a little bit uncertain of right now, because things are always changing, is our grade weights. As of now, our daily grades will be about 30% of your grade, or not about, it'll be 30% of your grade. All right, the tests, and we have 5 unit tests, 1 for each unit, those are going to be 40% of your grade. All right, and then the 30% of the grade will be the end of course test. Now, as of now, we still have an end of course test. However, the state of Georgia is applying for a waiver to where we don't have to take it. In which case, that grade weight might change a little bit to where maybe it'll go down to 20% or so. But as of now, this is the current grade weight until we are told otherwise. All right, so things that you need for the class is no different than any other class, really. 3-ring binder, paper, pencil. The only kind of extra thing would be flashcards. We do a lot with vocabulary in here because our end of course test is very vocabulary heavy. And so in that case, flashcards make it a little bit easier. So a couple of expectations that are kind of unique to you guys that I would recommend. First off is that I want you guys to be kind of at your desk, ready to go at 1:55. And so in a second, we'll talk more specifically about what our normal classroom is going to look like, because we'll follow the same model all year. All right, I do ask that you stay in the same location while we're on a Google Meet. It's kind of like, for me, I get distracted very, very easily. And so if webcams are moving around or things are going on in the background, I'll probably get distracted just as much as you guys will. All right, third, I know I don't really need to say this, but let's make sure that everything we're wearing during these Google Meets are school appropriate. I had some issues with a couple kids last semester with the virtual learning, but I think everyone's kind of got that out of their system. All right, and lastly, I know it's really tempting to, look at your phone or do other things like that while you're in class, but treat this as a normal class time, right? This is your time to understand the concept. You don't want to miss anything and end up doing poorly on a test because of it. You just got to make sure that we're treating this like a normal classroom, even though we're not really in a normal classroom. All right, so a couple more specifics for the virtual class. All right, so this is on your Google Classroom as well. All right, so the big thing again, our class is always going to go from 1:55 to 3:30 p.m. With a couple exceptions that we'll talk about. All right, so the way that it's structured, you're always going to start out in the classwork section of your Google Classroom. All right, so whenever we get to a new section, there's going to be a set of guided notes there. So tomorrow, whenever you go into the Google Classroom, that'll be up there on the top for you. All right, underneath that, it'll have the video lesson that we're doing for the day. Usually those video lessons are about 15 to 20 minutes. So once we're done with those video lessons, you'll go in and you'll click the link onto the Google Meet underneath that. That brings us all back together and to where we can kind of talk about the lesson, we can ask questions, we can maybe watch a couple video clips together. And I think that'll be a good time for feedback if you're not understanding something. If you're having trouble with an assignment, if you're having trouble prepping for a quiz or a test, that's where I can help you guys individually. So after the video session, all right, then I'll usually have one or two kind of smaller activities for you guys to do, and we'll all submit those through Google Classroom. All right, and so I think I might have a copy of it. No, I do not. But in the top right of all of your assignments, there'll be a button that says Turn In. All right, and you'll submit all of your assignments through that on Google Classroom. And when we get into the Google Meet, I can pull that up for you and show you. It's a lot easier to do it like that. So yeah, you'll use that Turn In button, and it'll automatically submit it to me on Google Classroom. All right, so as far as attendance goes, I'll do that during our Google Meet every day. There's a software that I have that anybody that joins the Google Meet, I've got it logged on there. That way at the end of the class, I can just go through and plug it into Infinite Campus to make sure that you're there. So in order to be counted present, you need to be in that Google Meet after we watch the video. We talked about dress code. Yeah, so make sure that you've got a nice, quiet, like tucked away corner that you could do these classes in. That way your little brother or sister aren't running across the screen, or nobody's yelling at you from the other room. It needs to be a nice, quiet place. I've started doing virtual classes on the student end of things. I started up my doctorate this past summer, and it took a while before I could find a good spot in my house to where there weren't going to be any big distractions. So as far as the assignments go, assume that any assignment we have is going to be due the next day unless I say otherwise. Sometimes we'll have assignments that I'll give you a week to do, or maybe a couple weeks if it's a bigger project. Unless I say otherwise, just assume that it's due the next class. But again, there shouldn't be anything that I give you that you can't get done in class unless it's just like the vocabulary or a study guide. Most of which, because I'm trying to model this after our in-person classes, and it's very rare that we have homework here unless people just don't get it done during class. But as always, feel free to email me with any questions. My email's below, daniel.sicoli@glenk12.org. I know this is a little bit different than the teacher's old emails, but we were having issues last year with students who were trying to use their Gmail to email the teacher's emails that were not the Gmail. So either way, start using this email down here, and you should be able to reach me at any time. I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. All right, so I believe that's all that I wanted to show you guys on here. So now you'll close this out, and you'll switch over to the Google Meet, and we'll all meet up together. So during a normal lesson, people are going to take different amounts of time. And so usually we'll just kind of like from whenever the first person gets in there, I'll give you guys 5 or 10 minutes. You can take a little break, you can use the restroom, but do switch over to the Google Meet first. That way you can check in with me. All right, so I'll see you guys in just a second live on the Google Meet. It'll be on the link underneath this video. Thank you guys, and see you in a sec.